Southeast Stuff. I'm Molly. I'm back with Georgia, and this week we're going to be recapping and previewing the gymnastics for the week, so let's get right into it. Like every week the last 2 weeks, we've been highlighting a gymnast of the week, and this week we're going to go ahead and highlight Kara Eaker. She's a junior that competes for Georgia. This is her first year at Georgia. She's a Utah transfer. We're highlighting her just because this is one of her first meets back from transferring. She's had more than one perfect 10 on beam. It's been an amazing, amazing career for her. She's wildly talented. She's a 2-time All-American on beam. Prior to college, she was a 2020 Olympic alternate. Obviously, we remember there was a lot of drama in the gymnastics world with the 2020 Olympics. Simone Biles had the twisties. She had to sit out. So Kara and the other alternates did get some time in the Olympics, which was amazing for them. She did transfer from Utah to Georgia. At first, she was retiring. Then she ended up entering the transfer portal, being picked up by Georgia due to some heavy allegations of verbal abuse from the Utah coach. That Utah coach has been investigated, but still has his job currently. It's kind of been a crazy situation. Her quote after winning this meet this last weekend was, after everything, being able to be back out here and just have so much fun with this team, it really means everything to me. I'm just really looking forward to continuing that energy for the rest of the season. Georgia, I don't know if you've researched Kara all this week, but how did you feel about her making a comeback and honestly switching into the SEC?
Welcome to the fun conference. This was her debut for the Bulldogs, which was really cool. I think they said it was her first competition since the 2022 championship. I absolutely loved how she got on the beam. So fun. We actually did just have a comment on our last video because I said that beam wasn't my favorite. And they said that beam is the boss of gymnastics. And so, you know what? They'll just have to keep proving that to me because it's still not my favorite. But I did love how she got on the beam and off the beam. Her performance was really fun. It is really unfortunate how much athletes, especially female athletes, think they have to deal with from their coaches, especially when it comes to verbal abuse. I think even as women, we're kind of just taught of, oh, that's how they talk to you in sports. And so it is kind of a big deal when finally someone steps away and is like, actually, that's not right. So I'm glad she was able to get away from that kind of environment. And I hope she has a really fun time at Georgia because it does seem like they have a really great gymnastics team.
I mean, she scored a 9.925, meaning, she had 2 balance checks the entire routine, which is phenomenal. That is such a difficult apparatus, obviously. Georgia, I don't know if you know this, but the beam is only 4 inches wide. So we're talking about a 4-inch wide piece of wood. And they're literally flipping in the air sometimes multiple times and spinning and dancing on it, and they're able to keep their balance, which I think is amazing. I think being really good at beam is very hard. There's a lot more to beam than just flipping. There is the dance component. Her routine is lovely. I loved, like you just said, her mount to the beam is really fun. And you can tell just through her whole routine, she was genuinely having fun. And I think coming back from, such a hard place of abuse, she deserves it. I think she deserves the world. And I just want to say congratulations to her. She won the event. And I just think she's a phenomenal girl. And I like watching her. I think she's a really aspiring young athlete, especially being an alternate on an Olympic team. Who can say that they've been an alternate on an Olympic team? Not many people.
Not me.
Yeah, and considering, 2020, they were only allowing 4. They selected 4 and they had 2 alternates. So she's one of 6 that got to go to the Olympics. I think that's insane. And I love seeing her college career afterwards. She's just having so much fun. I'm excited to see her again and again in the Georgia meets. Go Dogs for her. There really weren't any upsets this week. However, I will say Florida, being number 2, beats Utah and West Virginia University in the Groundhog Tri-Meet. This is an annual meet. It's a really fun meet. It's not just, 1 or 2 teams. It's 3. So you're being able to compete against, maybe your arch nemesis, and then there's this third guy over here. And that third guy in this meet today, or this last weekend, was West Virginia. They definitely did not have the best score at the end of the day. However, it is what it is. I think when you're competing against a team like Florida, who is number 2, and a team like Utah, who is um, pretty high up as well. I think they're number 9 right now. That's a difficult little tri meet to be a part of. It would be like Northwestern going up against like Georgia and Texas. That's a difficult game to be in. What did you think about this meet for you?
I really loved Selena Harris once again sticking her vault. I mean, I think that is just her thing. I am calling it. She's going to stick every single vault this season. Also, I don't know if you saw the controversy of some of the scoring for Leanne Wong. She had a 9.25 for her floor routine, and there was a very obvious mess up in her floor routine with one of her landings where she quite literally started to fall backwards and had to catch herself, and they still gave her 9.25. And it was interesting looking at some of those comments and saying, well, she's Leanne Wong, she knows how to sell it. And also people trying to kind of claim that they gave her the score based off of her name and her public appearance, whatever. So, that's interesting, but Florida is just a really good gymnastics team. So I don't think even if they would have scored that accordingly, they would have lost. So
I mean, they had multiple season high scores. I mean, that we're a few weeks into the season now, but to be, 4 or 5 meets in and be able to say that I scored my season high is pretty big. It's a big deal, especially in the gymnastics community. And Selena Harris and Riley McCusker are 2 of those amazing gymnasts. And so I just, there's a lot of controversy behind every score, if we're being honest. There's like, she could have taken 2 steps and not technically touched the floor, and it was really just 5/10 and not a whole point. Because when you fall on floor, it is a whole point. So she should have started at a 9.0 instead of a 10, it's unfortunate. The scoring system, we've talked about this in the last few weeks, sometimes doesn't seem fair. But I guess life's not fair, Weekly score updates. Obviously, Kentucky beat Auburn. That was just a known. There were, like I said, no upsets this week. Georgia beats Bama. So sorry, Georgia.
that's okay.
Georgia beat Bama because they had amazing gymnasts like Kara Eaker on their team. So I'm as much as I think Bama has a great team that competes on beam, which I know is not your favorite. But when you have them competing against somebody like Kara Eaker, I just don't know if Bama ever really had the chance to beat somebody like Kara Eaker and the Georgia Gym Dogs on beam.
It was interesting to me because they had said that Georgia hadn't been doing that great at beam up until that day, but they did amazing. One thing that I really liked was watching Bama do their floor routines. Bama was really messy with their floor routines against Oklahoma, even though they are more entertaining to me music wise. We talked about that last week. They went out of bounds. They took like 5 steps back. Like, it was just really messy, and they really did clean it up. But one thing that I really liked was that watching the Georgia cheerleaders watch the Alabama girls do their floor routines. And one thing I'm really falling in love with gymnastics is it is just such a girls community, because they are looking at these girls that are performing for the other team, but with just such admiration and love, and still cheering for them a little bit. Like, and that's one thing that I've really started to like about gymnastics is it's not as angry as other sports, which I love the anger. Like, that's what I'm used to. But I really do like watching all of these people be girls and be supportive of everyone. So it was really cute to watch that. And then I also like that Georgia always has like a moonwalk. They did like a moonwalk on the beam, and I really like that.
Yeah, I love watching gymnastics because it's like the passive competitiveness. It's not necessarily so aggressive. It's definitely a little bit more of a passive sport. kind of like, I'm just going to outshine them on the floor. I don't need to be petty. I don't need to throw things. I don't need to heckle. I don't need to do those things. I just need to show up and I need to do the work. And I think gymnasts are really the athletes that do that. I think because it is such a tough sport mentally, they're kind of checked out. I think, maybe it's not so much that they're girls, but it is such an individual sport for your whole life. And then to be turned into a team sport is such a culture shock for a lot of these young women. And so it's exciting to see, though. It's a fun sport to watch. Everybody is, genuinely excited and happy, and everybody has a different routine. So it's interesting to watch everyone's different routine because they bring so much to the plate. It's genuinely probably the most like romantic in a way. I don't know if that's the correct verbiage, but it is. It's like this fun.
It feels good.
Yeah, it's a real good sport.
It doesn't feel like anyone, like, I wasn't watching the Georgia cheerleaders watch the Alabama girls and think they were sitting there like, oh, I hope she messes up. Like, nobody's thinking that. And I think that's kind of nice to not want the other team to necessarily do bad. We just want to do better than you, you know?
Well, the majority of gymnasts were like homeschooled their whole life. Me. So I just think there's like a little bit more of a wholesome vibe to these athletes than there are to some others, like a football player. They've been tainted. Obviously, it's a good week for LSU. They bumped to number 2 in the ranking after beating Missouri. Missouri has had a decent year, but I think, we're talking about these girls really needing to show up and stick every landing, not have a balance check, hit their handstands. When you're competing against a top 3 team, what would you encourage your team, if you were Coach Georgia, to be working on in those weeks leading up?
I have no idea because, like you said, LSU came right out of the gate and stuck 4 landings in a row.
Yep.
And if I was Missouri, I would have said, okay, let's pack it up and go home. The atmosphere at LSU was insane. Like, that place was packed, and it was just insane. It was crazy. I have no idea how I would ever prepare anyone to go up against LSU gymnastics other than pretend you're not going up against them. That's probably something I would say. Pretend they're just another team, because anyone can have a bad day, like you said. And then with LSU getting bumped up to number 2, everything is so close. All the rankings are so close. So you slip up for once and you're moving to 3. And so I think that would be something that I would probably encourage, is that, you don't necessarily you do have to do better than them, but think of it as doing better than yourself, like the last time.
Yeah, I think like really, really encouraging clean, safe, easy routines. Like the difficulty is there, just kind of like not just getting by, but really perfecting the just getting by routine. And following into what you just said, obviously OU remains number 1. They beat Arkansas this week. However, Oklahoma is really only won by like 0.3. It's really not. It's not a lot. There's not even a whole point gap in between these people. So you're looking at Oklahoma and LSU and Florida. They're all within a points difference of each other. This is high stress times for these young girls, just because one fall on floor is huge, but one fall on beam or bars really could put them back in a number 4 or 5 spot. They could literally drop from number 1 to 4 or 5. So really paying attention to how clean and easy and stick the landings, I think, is how I would be prepping a team right now, just because it is so difficult already. I think just minimalizing the difficulty and just knowing like, okay, like if she's better at a round off back handspring double back and she can stick it and it's clean and the feet are together and she just looks amazing doing it and she sells her floor routine, that's what she should be competing. Like she shouldn't be competing a double layout. Just give her the easiest routine she can stick and handle, and she's a charmer. She's set to go. So I think that's what I would be doing as a coach right now, is just giving clean, safe, easy routines meant to stick.
Yeah. Speaking of Oklahoma, Faith Torres kind of went viral because she was, while her teammate was competing, she was on this side patting her head and rubbing her belly. Can you do that at the same time? I
I
can do
think
it. I can't do it with this side. Oh, wait, I got it.
yeah. I can only do it on one side.
I can do it on both.
We used to do that as gymnasts when we were waiting our turn in line. Maybe this is just a gymnast thing
Maybe
because I
that's a
haven't.
gymnast thing.
Yeah, I haven't done this in forever. I really did. We used to do it. We used to try to switch sides. We also used to just do weird stuff. Like some of us were double jointed, and we'd be like, "What can you do? What can you do?" And yeah, I discovered a lot of really weird things about my body as a gymnast. I think most gymnasts do, but. Uh, okay, Georgia. Well, coming up next week, this is kind of your big weekend. Bama is competing against LSU. So, why I asked you just now what you would be doing to prepare your team is because literally, what would you be doing to prepare your team to compete against LSU?
Bama girls, I love y'all. You know I love you. I mean, Jamison Sears, I love watching you. You're so fun. Shania Adams, I love you. I don't know if this is going to be your week. I just go out there and keep doing what you're doing because either way you win in my eyes. And if you win with me, who cares what the judges think? I'm more important.
You're going to show up in disguise as a judge this weekend.
I'm the judge now.
Oh my goodness. Well, there is going to be a pretty interesting meet. Kentucky is competing against Oklahoma. Although Kentucky is not in the top four, I will say Kentucky's been a sneaky team. They've had a couple upsets already this season. So I don't know, maybe they'll give Oklahoma a little bit of run for their money. I'm not sure. I mean, Oklahoma's such a good team, but like I just said, it really only takes one misstep, one fall, one technical. There's a lot of things that could happen. Oklahoma's on thin ice right now. They might be number one, but they're thin number one.
I mean, I think it's going to be a really amazing weekend of gymnastics again. I'm super excited. It's become my cute little Friday night. Grab a bowl of ice cream and let's watch some gymnastics.
It is always fun to watch just because it's a fun sport because there's personality and there's skill, and then there's also this weird sort of like judgment from yourself of like, oh, she didn't stick her landing, like psh, loser, but you're like sitting on the couch eating ice cream. It's like that's why I like the Olympics. It's like I'm going to judge hardcore everybody else here. It's a fun sport to watch.
She can't even do a cartwheel, but I could have stuck that landing.
We are going to work on the cartwheel, Georgia.
Thank y'all for watching and following along through this gymnastics season. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if there's a meet that you'd like us to show up to, and we'll see if we can get in and show you what it's like to go to a live gymnastics performance. Thanks, y'all. Bye.